Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Planning and Development Council of the Town of Oakville. Madam Clerk, we have some regrets this evening.
Yes, we have regrets from Councillor Elgar, and Councillor Adams and Lapworth were possibly trying to make it but could be late.
Thank you. Council, do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, thank you. How about mover and seconder to resolve in a committee of the whole? Councillor Johnston and Councillor Duddick, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have no consent items, confidential or public, and we have no public hearing items, but we do have discussion items, and the first up is the notice of intention to demolish at 3113 Old Bronte Road, and the recommendation is that council receive the report. Councillor Knoll?
If nobody else needs a report, I'm prepared to move this recommendation.
Welcome, Councillor Adams, and thank you, Councillor Knoll, for your motion. Any contrary sentiment? Then, pardon? Is there any member of the public here on this matter? Well, then, would you like to speak to the matter? Well, in that case, all in favor of Councillor Knoll's motion? Opposed, if any, and that carries. Congratulations. Now, that brings us to item number 2, which is the notice of intention to demolish at 315 Watson Avenue. And again, the recommendation is to receive the report.
I'll move to see.
I was just lingering to see if the ward councillors had a position on the matter. All right, the motion is recognized by Councillor Johnston. Is there discussion? All in favor? Oh, everyone's in favor. Opposed, if any? That too is carried. That brings us to the item number 3, the notice of intention to designate the Oakville Basket Company steam engine. Councillor Robinson.
Your Worship, if
I have your motion to move the staff recommendation, and I'm pleased to have you speak.
Councillor Bird and I are probably the only ones around here back when former Councillor late Bruce Artenborough moved that we retain that piece of the steam engine and move it to where it's presently located, and we did that. The council of the day did that many years ago. And I was doing some work a couple years ago with Max Swackhammer, who's in charge of the Hamilton Steam Museum in Hamilton, and he started talking to me about this wheel that's sitting there on the hill, as you've all noticed, and pointed out to me the historical value of it, that it's a Jerome wheel lock manufactured by Goldie McCulloch of Galt and all, and he knew the whole history of the thing, and he said, there's not much of that stuff left, and you guys should be designating this. So I wrote a letter to the commissioner back then a couple of years ago, and I'm just really happy and pleased to see that this is here tonight with that recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I was ready to give you and Councillor Bird credit for having built the thing. Councillor Bird.
It was actually moved across the new road. It was on the other side, closer to the tracks, and it's part of the flywheel of the sawmill. And
He doesn't have his.
it was, as Ralph said, it was going to be demolished and carted away for scrap. And it was really Bruce Attenborough at that point that brought it to our attention that we should try to keep it. So they gave it to us, and the rest, I guess, is history. It's been now part of the streetscape, an important part of the streetscape down there now for, what is it, about 20 years? Yeah, I think 25 years. So I thought it was designated. We got it for free and moved it, and it's been there. So. Sorry about that, but as I say, no further comments other than I'm glad that by designated it's going to have some sort of context, and we're recognizing the actual historic value and the significance not only to the town, but the former activities that went on that site in the future. People will remember the actual sawmill that was there, and as I say, I never realized it had the particular value other than it was an interesting piece, and it was a matter of why not. So as I say, unless somebody's got a better idea, I think we leave it in its place and follow the recommendations and try to restore it.
Thank you very much, councillors. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that carries. Now, that brings us to item 4, the 3445 Dundas Street West Fire Prevention for Heritage Properties Report. Councillor Knoll.
I don't need a report, but unless anybody else would like it, but I do have a question. So my question is, thank you for, first of all, the staff, thanks for the report. I wondered, was the Halton Regional Police, were the Halton Regional Police staff consulted on this particular issue to discuss ideas around environmental crime prevention? Not suggesting that 3445 was a crime, but in overall, we know that some of these things have very suspicious origins, or the fires have suspicious origins. So were the police consulted in terms of some of the input they might have in terms of potential avoidance of this from happening in the future?
Through your worship to Councillor Knoll, no, the Halton Regional Police were not contacted. We did have extensive discussions with fire and also with legal counsel, but they were not. Based on it was a very specific direction from council, so they were not.
Okay, my question isn't meant to be critical, and I apologize if it sounds like I'm picking something out that you didn't do. It just came to my mind. I'm wondering if it may be something that just, if the staff could take it as a suggestion to potentially contact the Halton Regional Police to discuss environmental crime prevention opportunities. I know that in our ward, we've had situations, not heritage buildings, but shopping plazas and places like that, where the police have been very helpful in providing some advice as to how to avoid problems by creating more visibility opportunities, that sort of thing. So I'm just wondering if maybe staff might be prepared to do that on their own initiative. They don't have to report necessarily back to council, but to take that into consideration as they go forward.
Certainly through your worship, we can do that. We do work with them indirectly with the crime prevention through environmental design, so through the review of site plans, but we can certainly do that in this instant in terms of those vacant buildings.
Be great. Thank you. That's all, your worship, and I would be prepared to move the motion.
Councillor Knoll has moved the recommendation. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. That brings us to item 5. The labeling, you need to read this carefully. We have a notice of intention to demolish at 376 Douglas Avenue, but the recommendation is that council give notice of intention to designate rather than to receive and thus permit the demolition. I'll look first to Ward 3. Councillor Giddings. Councillor Giddings tells me he'd like to move the staff recommendation, or are you asking to change the staff recommendation?
No, receive it as it is.
No, but it doesn't say receive.
The notice to designate.
Right, so instead of receiving, which would permit the demolition, the recommendation is that we give notice of intent to designate, meaning we would save it.
We will designate.
So that's your motion? Any discussion? All in favor? Councillor Knoll? I called the vote. I was just asking for your vote.
Worship, I just wondered if, I'm not sure what there are a couple gentlemen in the audience. I'm wondering if, just because this is a big step, I wonder if any of them want to speak to the matter.
I believe I should call their attention to the item. Do either of you gentlemen have anything for council on this?
Then I'm ready to vote.
Could you clarify, I just could not hear what the actual motion was that was being moved. Is
the
it to
motion-
designate it? Is it staff recommendation?
The motion is, as written on your order paper, that notice of intention to designate be given. Everyone clear? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. We have no confidential discussion items, and you have your advisory committee minutes from Heritage Oakville. You have a recommendation and receipt, so we're looking for, if Councillor Knoll.
Your worship, I'll give you a motion to receive and also to approve the recommendations contained therein.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Those are adopted. That brings us to item 7, the Heritage Oakville Advisory Committee of July 26th. And again, we have a recommendation and a receipt. So we need an approval and receipt motion. Councillor Knoll.
Ditto.
Thank you. All in favor? Council said ditto also. Thank you. Now we just need a motion to rise and report. Councillor Johnston, thank you. All in favor? Opposed, if any? I rise and report the Committee of the Whole has met and made recommendations on discussion items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and advisory committee minutes 6 and 7 as noted by the clerk. And I ask for a mover and seconder for the report. Councillor Duddick, Councillor Johnston, all in favor? Opposed? I need more in favor to adopt this report. Oh, all of a sudden we have lots of support. That is carried. Councillors, do any of you have any new business of an emergency, congratulatory, or condolence nature? Thank you. Then a mover and seconder for consideration and reading of the bylaws. Councillor Adams? Councillor Grant, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, that carries. That was authority for bylaws 2011-63, a bylaw to authorize the execution of a heritage easement agreement for the Walton Memorial United Church, and 2011-86, a bylaw to declare that certain land is not subject to part lot control, and 2011-93, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of a meeting of council. That completes our agenda. Thank you for your time and attention. We are adjourned.